Hello, welcome to day two. And I apologize. I'm going to send this out because there's been all kinds of confusion on my side. It's all me of getting things scheduled and the timings showing up in different time zones. So I really, really apologize if you jumped on earlier and I wasn't here. And I'm hoping that some of you maybe will see or able to see this. I actually might stream this into Facebook. Let me see if I'm able to do that. I'm going to put this recording on as I'm getting going. Welcome to day two of the idea of planning for your health in 2025 and what you want to see, where you're going. If you didn't catch the replay yesterday or didn't catch the live, we went through your labs. So as we're creating a plan, I really want to emphasize the steps that we can take right now. So, what can you do right now that will allow you to be successful, to reach your health goals in 2025? And part of this is looking at what you hold in your hands. So, we started with labs. Prior to that, we actually started with mindset, right? So, as we're thinking about mindset, this is really putting the intention out there for what we want to see, setting your health goal in how you want to see it happen. What do you want to accomplish this year? So for mine, I put it out there that I am planning to do another triathlon. I did them regularly for a while, about 10 years ago. And then there was kind of a gap in moving in up to Alaska, and I started getting into it again 2 years ago and did a virtual one in Montana because I was traveling during the actual event. And then last year I did it again. I wasn't super excited and with my performance. So this year my goal is to do the triathlon again, but be better this year. So putting my intention into training. And so that has been holding me through. I started in December with some of those challenges I did, looking at nutrition. And I feel lately, actually, I want to do another sugar-free challenge just to create that awareness and that mindset about what we're putting into our bodies and how it makes us feel depending what we're putting in. So taking that, bridging into the labs that we went through yesterday, I shared that whole during it, you can see all the different trends or patterns that I'm looking for when we're looking at what our labs are telling us. What patterns can we see? And then how can we use that to get to the core of what we can emphasize to then increase our energy to have the vitality that we want to be living in? And then from there, how do we create a reset, which is what we're going to dive in today, and then how do we really actually create rejuvenation or this, restoration of energy, this longevity. And I realize as you're watching on Facebook after the last one, is you're not going to be able to see the slides. I didn't know that until I went back and watched it. So if you are watching from Facebook and you see this and you're wanting to know kind of what I'm talking about, make sure you send me a direct message and I will also do like I did yesterday and share the link. So for now, I'm going to actually share my screen. I'm going to bring up just an outline of what I want to make sure that I cover with you today. And I think I got it here. I want to make sure I got the right one. And if you have any questions, please feel free. That is not what I wanted to share. That's my code that I was going to share later. So let me stop that share for just a second. I thought that was going to be my PowerPoint because there is an opportunity that I still have available for making sure that you are supported, that we have this space, and I have it. I thought I had easy access here, and I don't remember. Let me see here. I think it maybe, oh, I know. I think because when I went into Facebook, it yeah, that's what it is. There we go. So here is my PowerPoint, and I heard this a lot from a lot of people doing Zooms lately, just with things changing up a little bit, is actually being able to find where we need to be. So here we go. I'm going to put it into slideshow mode so that you can see where we're at. So this topic for today and the last couple days or yesterday, and then I've been really talking about is planning your 2025 health journey. So we want to create this abundant energy and vitality, right? So we're putting into action what we can, we're planning, we're resetting, rejuvenating, and then leveling up our health, our entire who we are and how we show up. And our mindset is where we begin, which is what I already mentioned. So beginning each day, each planning session with a win. What is something that you can do? So we started with the 5-day sugar-free challenge in December, but pick what that might be for you. Maybe it's getting up and journaling every morning for 5 minutes. Maybe it is setting up your schedule. Maybe it is getting out for a walk or movement every single day for 5 days. So noticing something, and just by doing that action, it will then create other support around that as well. So notice the differences. This promotes success not only in what you have chosen to do and then followed through with it, acting in integrity, and it brings other aspects to where you're like, oh, I can do this, then I can also do this. We can create things that work together to support our whole body. And our body is not just, the physical, it's how are we centered emotionally? How are we in our mindset, in our frame of mind? How are we connected to what is beyond what is happening in our world? And I bring these up because these are also things that I'm working on of how do we integrate everything together to be who we really want to be. And as we're putting it all together and then we take and we break it down, some of you have heard part of this is this idea of cellular senescence, of in order to really grow into who we want to be, we have to clear out space. And sometimes it's getting rid of clutter in our house, which I've been working on, on the physical level with kids and things like that, looking through closets. And in our physical body, it actually means clearing out these zombie cells or these senescent cells that are no longer working like they should be. So if you're able to see the slides, you can see these cells, they stop working properly. They're sending these harmful signals. It's like the bad apple in a barrel, right? If you have something that's going bad, it then starts to spread into around it. So if we have one cell, it is then sending messages to our other cells of this dis-ease or this improper functioning within our body, which causes more inflammation and damage that will begin spreading system wide. These cells, they don't just die like they're supposed to. So our cells should go through a process where they clear out, they die, they go through this, they trigger a sequence that then clears them out of our body. But we have these zombies or senescent cells that are in our body taking up space, using energy and sending out bagged signals that are affecting what's around us. So we want to clear these out. And a lot of it is, as we're looking through taking from our labs and what's happening, is we generally see it as a diagnosis or an illness, right? But that's not what we're working on. I am looking at how do we get this body from where it is right now, which is, I would say nobody out there is where they want to be, right? We always have something, every level you reach, and I hope that this is the case, that you're working to reach the next level. So if we have one of these chronic illnesses listed, whether it's something to do with our heart or our kidneys or our brain or whatever it might be, where can we identify that key component? And we're looking at, at the cellular level, at systems. It might be in an autoimmune disease, which I talked a little bit about yesterday. It's your body attacking your body, which isn't normal, right? Our body should be thriving and supporting, regenerating, rejuvenating. But when we have something like this happening, we need to look at the reset button. And this one came up again. Sorry about that. So we can also put it together in this picture. And if we have these symptoms, whatever it might be, maybe we're feeling more tired, or we're having trouble thinking clearly, we're having digestive problems, we're having stuff show up on our skin. Maybe it's in our immune system that we have a really hard time overcoming different things within immunity. This all we can look at it, and whether it's autoimmune or a chronic, something diagnosed, looking at the underlying inflammation. And that inflammation is really where we get into the 6 M's that I'll talk about in just a minute. You can see on the screen though, minerals, mucosal barriers, mitochondria, microbiome, cell membranes, and methylation. And what we look at there is it brings it down into autophagy, which is the birth of, so clearing out these old cells and having these new fresh healthy cells. And this happens through the senescence, the senolytic cells. And it's this process that we have to look at the root foundation of where things are happening at. So another way to look at, part of this aspect of this inflammation is, what does that mean? And I showed you a couple of places on your labs where we can see inflammation, right? And within it, though, it can show up in so many areas that it might show up and you go to one doctor for this and another doctor for this, because they're separating out and saying this is how this one thing is affecting these different systems. So you need to go to that person, or really we can get to it at the core. And that's really, as a naturopathic doctor, what I'm looking at is functionally, naturally, what do we need to look at to then have this ripple effect into overcoming what is happening. So as we're looking at this overload on our system or this inflammation, some of it we can see within our labs, right? I mentioned the red blood cells and all the breakdown, that we can see patterns where we're having trouble methylating, particularly vitamin B12 and folate. So we can then inform ourselves with this switchboard of turning things on and off with methylation. If we need support there, then we have methylated vitamins. We want to look at what are we putting into our body that our body can actually use easily. So this can be one factor of inflammation. Mitochondria is another huge one that is this big buzzword nowadays, right? And it really is going into, so it's within our cell, it's how we generate energy. And if we are under stress mode, if we have a lot of cortisol, either this stresses physically, this stresses emotionally, or something in our mind like finances, relationships, work, all of the things together, our mitochondria are in defense mode, which means they're shifted out of energy production mode. So how do we support mitochondria? Are all the nutrients there that we need? Is our body in a place where we're actually able to generate energy? um, Microbiome. This is the one where it's a balancing of the different bacteria, viruses, fungi, all the microorganisms that live within our body, especially within our gut, that directly relates to our mind through neurotransmitter production, through what we're absorbing in our food. This keeps this balance literally at our core that will affect the entire rest of our body. Um, the minerals. So this you see on there is called the spark plug. Our mineral are the spark plugs. So the minerals are the cofactors. These are the things that make everything work like they're supposed to. So we saw in our labs, for example, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium. These are some of the basic ones that are commonly measured, and we can see, are we depleted in any of these due to maybe chronic stress, malabsorption, what we're intaking, or do we have optimal? Most people are missing or depleted or just using more of certain minerals, so then we also need to bring more in to have everything working properly. And I'd be curious as I'm going through this to drop me a comment or send me a message. I'm keeping my eye on the chat here. And if one particular area is like, oh, I can tell this is it. Maybe you've looked at labs, or maybe you can just feel which of these areas is kind of your focus point, and that is great. That's information to help you get started on a plan. So the last two on here, cell membranes. These ones are the barriers, and this can be on a cellular level, what comes in and out of the cell regulated by mineral channels. So this really determines what comes into the cells to make them the healthiest possible, and can we get rid of things that are not supposed to be in that cell. So some of the signs of inflammation on that are maybe retaining waterways, or just like disruption in our digestion, feeling just like we're always, something is not right. Maybe it goes from our joints to our gut to our brain. Like we have these things that seem to shift in where we're sensing them in the body. And then finally, mucosal barrier. So this is the defense lining that goes from our mouth all the way through our elimination system. And really, we see a lot of this, and I mentioned a little bit in the labs, as it's called leaky gut now, of what is getting into our body and exposing to our immune system, which is like our detection, our defense, that shouldn't be, that then our body is creating a reaction over that it doesn't need to be. So those are the 6 M's, and we can break those down further. So if you've kind of in your mind or put in the message of where you're at, what one speaks to you most directly, then we can say, how do we support that through, nutritionally? And here is a list kind of for each of those categories. And I can, this will be in the replay. So if you're watching on Facebook, watch the replay and you can fast forward into this, do a screenshot. But so methylation, I mentioned a few are methyl vitamins, but there's also other vitamins and cofactors we need that impact methylation, which again, methylation is turning things on and off when our body needs something to happen, all the way through mitochondrial support. Mitochondrial support really relates to the Krebs cycle with how we produce energy. Do we have each of the components needed? And for example, the first one on that list is CoQ10. And if we don't have enough of that, our energy system becomes much less efficient. And oxygen is another one in that cycle. So breathing during the day. And yesterday we started with a, kind of a breath work that we can do, just simple reset during the day, and so forth, going through those. So those are the 6 M's, how we can support them specifically. And that would be a lot of products if we're trying to support that. I don't intend for you to go out and try to find like each of these. But if we're looking at this list, we're looking for things that are synergistic, that have multiple of these factors within a product, if we're to the point of needing to take a product to support us, to get us to that next goal. And then we take those 6 M's and we can say, what areas in our body are they affecting, or how is it showing up in my body for what I'm mentioning as a symptom, or talking to my doctor with as a symptom, or noticing in myself. And you can break it down basically into 9 categories: the brain, the immune system, skin, gut, thyroid, hormones, metabolism, heart, and adrenals. And there is overlap in these, but usually there's one system where it is presenting the strongest. And that's the one where we're going to kind of look at first. Or maybe there's one that is the foundation of where that other one might be coming from. And that's what we're looking at supporting as we're creating this plan to optimize our health, to reach that next level, to really be in our vital essence. So the next slide on here is looking at how do we support this process. Because if we're looking at systems, remember we took it all the way down to clearing out those cells. So really step 1 is creating momentum, setting your mindset, doing something that creates success and a win. Step number 2 is doing as many things as we can each day to support the clearing of those cells out of our body. So these include exercise, fasting, sleeping, stress management. These are the foundations of health, right? Nutrition, proper hydration, which is clean water, or herbal infusions, which I'll mention in just a second. But we're getting our nutrients from the food that we're bringing in, from the air that we breathe, from the soil that we're working with if we're growing our own food, and nutrients that will enhance this process if we're at a place where we really need a reset. Quercetin, tocopherols, curcumin, ECGC, and urolithin A, which is a postbiotic nutrient. So these are the ones when I looked in research of how do we support this. And glutathione is the other kind of foundation for our bodies being able to detoxify at a cellular level, to cleanse and purify. We can get this through tart cherry juice is one means of getting it, which actually stimulates also melatonin production and this production of glutathione naturally in our body. Glutathione is the number one master antioxidant. And the other way you can get glutathione is through raw products. Most of us are not eating raw fish or raw meat, raw eggs, things like that, but you can get them through that type of sourcing. The one that I have found most recently and seen so many amazing testimonials is through Immunocal. And what it's doing, it's a whey protein isolate. So a very specific process for how it's being used from milk. Isolate meaning that there is no casein or whey in, or there is no casein or the larger proteins that lactose, for example, that people generally react to in dairy products. And it is in a very reactive form, so it's individually sealed so that when you open it, you're essentially beginning the activation process, because glutathione is very reactive in our body as an antioxidant, and it makes everything else work better. So by taking this, we increase our absorption. It's going to affect every system that we saw in our body, our brain, our cardiovascular, our nervous system, no matter where we need it, it enhances what we're already doing. So I bring this up and you can see the image on the top right of the screen. So this is really, and I am looking to help guide people from where you're at to where you want to be. This is going to vary depending on the person. But looking, if you want to be that 1% of where you're at, this kind of shows you're limiting alcohol, walking every day. We're creating just this movement, pursuing, I'm not sure if that was blocking yours too, lifting weights, eating whole nutritious foods, being grateful for things, the blessings in your life, being grateful for the day to day of what we do have, spending quality time with friends and family, keeping our mind, our body, our relationships and health. And these are ideals, right? This is like a 1%. So, and then it also is a challenge. I actually borrowed this from somebody else who had posted, and doing 10 pull-ups a day, 25 push-ups, 30 crunches, run a mile in less than 7 minutes, and so forth, that you can see and potentially print and be like, if this is something you're working toward. But really it's about like up leveling. Like, what is your nutrition? You see the other picture on here is a gift I actually received of fermented beets, fermented carrots, and sauerkraut. And it's just nurturing ourselves in any way possible. So I bring this up because that is kind of the step one. After we're doing this reset and establishing our foundation, we are looking to get back on here. There we go. Create a rejuvenation, a plan. Like, this is your up level. And I have 90-day programs available if you are needing that guidance. And I encourage you to just think about which one would you choose based on what we've just gone through in systems, in the cell reset, in what we're seeing in our body in the presentation. And these integrate in those 6 M's. So they're putting products that work together synergistically from multiple companies, fine-tuned and brought together by Mike Reese. I have to give credit for several of these images and bringing it together. And whole body healing is really kind of a foundation that is meant for pretty much everything, but sometimes we have a little bit of a different focus. We also have the whole body Myco Detox. This is especially for things like if there's exposure to mold or chronic viral infections, bacterial, chronic underlying bacterial, where we need a little bit more focus on the clearing part of it. And whole brain rejuvenation, if your presentation is mostly coming up as like, I'm losing my memory, I am not thinking clearly, then we potentially would start with something like that. And then whole body weight release was added on later, but really a lot of what is in that is I would generally go to whole body healing first. But these are kind of the programs laid out, easy to do. Everything is managed for 3 months of this is what you take, this is when to take it, and this is what you walk through. So this is kind of the next step. It doesn't have to be in this though. It can be something with the supplements you're already taking of consistency. Is what you're taking, does it have what you need in it for what you're working on, what we see in the systems? And oftentimes it's depending how long that we've been going through something, we have a while before we're going to see the picture of where we want to be. And that may also be incorporating in, something like the Immunical. Maybe it's just a vitamin D supplement that we're doing regularly to get that up if we saw that low in labs. So they can be very focused, but I just encourage you to create a 90-day program, 90-day plan of where you're going with your health. So I would love for you to share with me what you learned today. What is your takeaway? And I'm going to send out a little bit of a survey as I share this replay with people, and I would love to hear it in here too, of what is your main goal in your health? What is your focus? Is it on a system? Is it on, more mindfulness and meditation? Is it in trying to get more movement and more balance with relationships? More, balance and success between relationships, finances, and your health are kind of three big areas. And then for those who are on, I would like to share also with an easy button protocol to get started. So if you are interested in that, please stay on with me. And I didn't pass this code this time. I need to because I did it right before, but the link is at the bottom as well. So this is the introduction that I brought to everybody in December, and I am still able to, I didn't check the site this morning, but it's still discounted on the site. So I'm passing that along to all of you as well. So this is the no excuses 30-day professional grade protocol. The simplicity of it is brilliant. So you start with 2 weeks of the senolytic cleanse. So it's a supplement that you take easy. It's mostly quercetin based, which is going to help with immunity side. It's going to help with balancing out the body. And then for the next 2 weeks, you do the autophagy cell repair supplement and MAG-O3. So the first two supplements, you only do 2 once a day. And then the MAG-O3, we're doing 2 of those twice a day. So really and the MAG-O3 is an omega supplement. So these beautiful concentrated omegas that are going to help. Omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. They're great for our brain, our nervous system, our immunity, our digestion, like those 6 M's. Most of them we can benefit from omegas. And if this is something of interest, please follow that link at the bottom, or like I said, I need to check the QR code. I'm hoping it worked this time because it didn't last time. And again, just getting used to technology. So I'm going to stop the share here for right now and come back on screen. And I looking for feedback in there, and let me see. I think I have to go over here and to be able to see Facebook. So I want to see if there's any comments. I'm not seeing any comments right now, but that doesn't mean if you do have one, I'm not seeing it, but I will be able to check once I get off as well. And I hope this is helpful. Again, I'm Dr. Alana McLaughlin, just bringing this out to share as I'm learning, as I'm growing with all the experience that I've had, the different things that I brought on, starting, education, psychology to neuroscience to naturopathic medicine to meditation and yoga, and really trying to integrate it all together, make it easily accessible into action steps that we can take, how to set ourselves up for success, to plan for 2025 being a successful year through mindset, through action, so that we are in a different place next year in this time compared to where we were. Some people say, from last year to this year, how much have you changed? Did you actually achieve what you wanted to? And if the answer is no, then what do we need to do differently? And this, I hope, is helpful for you to take action in your health, to have support and availability. And through community, through resources, is my overall goal. And then we can say next year at this time, yes, I do see a difference. I am now out hiking more. I am now out golfing more. I'm traveling more. I am, swimming and walking and, whatever the movement in your life, maybe more yoga, more Pilates, more time in meditation, whatever it is that you're calling in or wanting to be able to do. Because I feel like it is most people is more movement is what we're needing, and then how do we get there? So I'm gonna sign off for today. I'm not seeing any questions, and I think it might be the timing on when this came out. I was supposed to be on an hour earlier from what it sent out in messages, so I really, really apologize. And I will be doing this again though, so I will reach out to those who registered and be sharing this soon. All right, take care.